Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. This is Shirley with Spirit of Matter, and we are on a Saturn night. Mars, our 11 degree Cancer ascendant, and the moon is in degree seven, in the 10th house in Aries. So, hail to the moon, Aries, in my life, in the spirit, and in the matter, including the founder of astroseek.com, Peter, as well. I want to talk about, you know what? Let me give a shout out to Jaguar Wright because she's been talking about MK Ultra. She's been talking about the most she's been talking about, and I know some of you might front regarding to what candidate she votes for and stuff like that. There's also the need to kind of like make a living. Okay, so she's not exempt to that. But I want to give a shout out to state and MK Ultra and the way that it's so prevalent everywhere around. And yes, I want to address her saying, okay, she said, later she kept on talking about MK Ultra, but at first it's kind of like this frustrated moment that's so understandable, very, very relatable. Whether you are, I don't know, a politician or just a common YouTuber, just a common person, or a musician or whatnot, it's just so fucking relatable. Okay, it's kind of like she says, if you can't do anything about it, then why do you mention that? Like, what can you do anything about? And that's important. I get this frustration, and yet she continues on to talk, and very grateful that she continues on to whistleblow about MK Ultra and saying it's everywhere around. And I think we know that. I said Trump is an eclipse child, so it's more difficult to control him. Yet I agree with Gigi Young is not a savior, okay, and that is something to keep in mind. I also want to address the fact that the entire project of inversion, okay, works on just that, inverting what is life full. So if you talk about the harmonic balance of yin and yang, then saying, for example, that the sky punishes the land, I'm going back to China because I'm going back to the origins, right? The sky is punishing the land. This is already an inversion. Okay, it's not Chinese. There are many streams of holistic medicine in China. The saying, the sky is punishing the land, it's not Chinese, it's Masons. It's Rosies, okay? And there say the sky that, and I said what I said, the sky that punishes the land loses the mandate of the heaven, whether it's Mao Zedong or we the people. What is the mandate of the heaven? The mandate of the heaven is basically the eclipses, and when we have the eclipses affecting leaders, affecting royal families, affecting solar figures, influencers as well. So anything solar, even in your natal chart, okay, the sun in your chart, anything in your Leo placement, okay, is affected, and wherever the solar eclipse touches on is affected. And so those that misuse this, the yin and yang, okay, those that emasculate or do yin depletion, okay, whether they do mistreatment to the that which is the feminine, which is indeed okay, let's, in astrological terms, you would talk about it as the Venusian, the lunar, some even the Saturnian, and that is, well, the best explanation for you to be is a linear energy, and a linear energy that has a telos, that has a direction, this Martian or solar energy, it has heat, has temperature, that holds heat, versus the kind of like cooler temperature, darker tones, a circular energy, okay, that which is cyclical in nature. This is a more yin, okay? And so When we have intervention in the dynamic balance of a yin and yang, and its malefic intervention, then this is what depletes life on earth. Okay, and that is where the torture rituals that are done, whether it's MK Ultra, cloning, indigenous societies, how to treat the two genders, the shamans and healers. So when we are talking about torture or rape, and that the point here is to get the person to the point where they dissociate and are more susceptible to mind control. The antidote, we say, is connecting with our roots, our ancestry, bare feet on the soil, which opens up the crown, blue light, okay, shielding the truth, and blue is the antidote to red, okay? To excess red. Red is lovely. Red is the color of life, of blood. The blood is mostly the blood of life, okay? It's not the blood that we spill at war, mostly, okay? But the excess, the inversion of that is perpetuating eternal war. And so it doesn't matter which life form you are on earth, okay? It doesn't matter if you're a tree or you're a rock or you are and I'm not talking about animation. This works whether you are believing in animism or not. Whichever life form, whether a child, a person, a reptilian, any type of animal, an alien, we do have the elements and the balance of a yin and yang as a concept of life. And that is true, because if whatever alien invasion is interfering in that, or satanic cult is interfering in that, it means that this exists, and the attempt to control things is done by interfering in that, believing that that can be something that you pay a price for and you will be okay with the price. I actually invite you to watch the episode of The Privileged View about the troubles of rich kids or rich families, that I think begins to kind of explain the way things work for the people who are involved with those inversions. And essentially, all life forms, reptilian, alien, human, animal, nature, okay, all life forms need to embrace, to maintain life, okay, to not be sacrificed the way you sacrificed. All the life forms need to maintain the balance of yin and yang. And the antidote is what I told Jag. The antidote is tending to this tender balance and in harmony within yourself. It's a dynamic balance. Okay, it's a dynamic balance. And no, that's not sexist, that's not this, that's not that. It's a dynamic balance, and when you tend to this dynamic balance, as well as curation of moon and sun, and curation of wounds, this is where talismanic magic can do wonders, because essentially the birthing process, the sexual encounters, okay, the childhood, everything is inverted to put in torture so that the person will be imbued with trauma and susceptible to mind control. But the more we tend to this yin-yang balance within ourselves, the more we are an antidote to those inversions that indeed occur. So I'm going to be very frank and very honest here. I do have Aries, which is the planet of the Übermensch, conjuncting Mercury right now, and that's going to be happening for a couple of years until it will continue on and slowly begin its ingress into Taurus towards the 2050s. This is where um, that Mercury is ruling my 7th house of partnership, enmities, marriage, and my 4th house of housing, which I already ran into this year with the eclipse on Aries. Okay, having my makler, who is the person who built this house, asking me if I sleep with my mom, which is basically the incest cult, the inbred cults, then reptilianly stalking me. And I'm like, damn, I didn't know. But then I was like, oh, it makes a lot of sense. Okay, a makler that has a real estate agent has 100 estates that he runs. Naturally, he would have to have Masonic connections, because Masonry is basically construction and building of houses and architecture. So Pluto in the sign of Masons, okay, in Aquarius, is going to expose a lot of these dark practices that and a lot of the mind control that is indeed happening, because the essence of this mind control works on, okay, I'm going to be very frank. Let's say I hear a Jaguar Wright episode. Okay, you hear Jaguar Wright speaking and so on and so forth, being very frank about what's going on, what we need to tend to, and cruelty-free artistry, which I love. Then there would be a psychic attack. Okay, I would go to sleep, and then I would hear her. Somebody would either shapeshift into her or whatnot and say something like, what was it? We're going to swallow. We're going to slam, something like sexual harassment or something like that. Okay, something that would get me to go off, like continuing to connect with her. And that is on the record. Okay, that is on the record. And this is how these things operate. Because that's basically a form of illusion, type of mirages, mind control, and to kind of to get people to question each other, to create an atmosphere of trauma and distrust, a lack of connection, okay, betrayal, and all these things, they serve enslavement of humanity. Okay, so it doesn't matter if you were born, whichever life form you were born, that type of stuff is throwing chaos at humanity, which is essentially Aries. Okay, that's the Ubermensch project, which is meant to enslave humanity. But Aries essentially was the one that was disincluded, the one that was not invited. And then she sent the apple that started the Trojan War. So that makes the antidote is indeed this yin-yang balance. And the question of inclusivity, when Aries is in Andromeda right now, the question of inclusivity is a big question, because this is the sign where Aries, that was not invited to the party and was disincluded, finds out that, hey, that party you were disincluded of was party where people cannibalize on each other, was party where people torture each other, party where people rape each other. And that party, you might be grateful you will not invited to that party, or alternatively be, if you're talking about the Ubermensch, attempts to re-include into society, but it's saying in very simple terms, okay, we're gonna have to maintain this harmonic balance of a yin and yang, because the sky that punishes the land. Okay, if we are going to be cruel to women or cruel to men, we are essentially extinguishing humanity. Okay, so this is something that I run into very, very personally. Okay, I cannot even begin to, like, the jump from where I was to where I am right now is giant. This is Pluto squared. It's very important. But again, to say that, it doesn't help that people curse and sacrifice each other and this and that. It doesn't like, that's not going to sustain you. Okay, That's not going to sustain you. Um, uh, um, Rapes and such is not going to sustain you. It's depleting of the energy. What we can do is set intention to restore creative energy, um, and restore, okay, a faith in the self and humanity. Okay, to restore these things. This is easier said than done, and it's also important to note that for some people that went through that much, okay, then mercy killing, which is what happens with Pluto in Aquarius as well, is also a possibility. Be it the people, the leaders. I said, if you look at my Navamsha, you will see why I say people are leaders and leaders are people. Okay, I have Moon in Taurus in the 10th house, people. 10th house is leaders, Moon is people, and the Sun in the 4th house, Scorpio, and that is Sun is leaders and the 4th house is people. So that is by all, and that Sun is ruling with my ascendant. If you look at my Navamsha tropically, which I do, and so people are leaders, so leaders are people. Okay, there's no getting away from what's going to happen in Pluto and Aquarius, in the sense that we gotta treat each other with respect. We gotta treat each other with respect. We can't mistreat women. We can't mistreat men. All this hatred. One of the things that helped me to survive the 7th October as Israeli was understanding that there is cult behavior and that is good behavior. Okay, Israel has right to defend itself, but when I see soldiers in a ritualistic blood sacrifice, uniforms of red dresses, supposedly filming themselves in Gaza, I don't know where it's fake or real or whatnot, this is not Israel defending itself. Okay, there's some sort of blood ritual that infiltrated the IDF, or the armed forces, and this is as horrid as whatever happened in Amsterdam. Okay, so you could say I heard claims that the Maccabi fans were vandalizing things. I'm not a soccer fan, so I believe you. Okay, they were vandalizing things and then supposedly attacked in return. Well, if they were vandalizing things, putting them in the river and killing them is also, like, vandalism is not nice. It's supposed to arrest people. The police was supposed to arrest them if they were doing vandalism. Getting beaten to death, this is Kristallnacht. Okay, so just as I said, that's Kristallnacht, and that's not, I don't know, BBC going full Goebbels. I also say that IDF wearing, red dresses in a very obvious satanistic Rosicrucian ritual is also, okay, the same. It's same. Okay, that's not cool. That's not cool. It's got nothing to do with Israel's right to defend itself, which it has, of mainly the Templars that do these rituals. But this is exactly what we're talking about, okay? Whether you're Inuit or you live in Congo, or you live, which by the way has, I think, above 10 million people dead in Congo, and there's harvesting of the minerals. You got to see what minerals, I need to cover that, because you got to see what minerals are there, and nobody talks about this. Okay, nobody addresses Congo. We just let Congo be. And I found that, it's good that people, pay attention to Palestinian people. Under the flag of the watermelon, it's kind of like the Star of David. Whatever you think about the Star of David, you gotta think about the watermelon. So just to say that, and whichever life form you are, you hermaphrodite, clone, whatever, reptilian, alien, whatnot, you still need to maintain this harmonic balance of a yin and yang. Otherwise, you get sacrificed. And I like to tell the story about Rute. So Rute has been a gender contributor for the World Health, for WEF, WEF, okay, for the WEF. And he was Prime Minister of the Netherlands for like a millennia, okay, a really long time. And now he's head of NATO. And so in his channel, the head of NATO, there was a video about AI replacing Mark Rutte and taking decisions instead of Mark Rutte as head of NATO. Now, automation is something that, let's say the Swiss are excellent in automation, and automation can make life easier. I worked in an international business where there was automation, and then we would get the clients that actually want a discussion, and for the rest there would be automation, and that helped the woman raise a business and get out of a narcissistic abusive relationship from a man who wanted to use her children against her and so on, like really horrid stuff. But at the same time, when we face with the situation of definitely not someone you wouldn't call elite or royal blood or royal family, being subjected to be replaced by an AI, I think this calls for a, hey, let's maintain the harmonic yin and yang balance here, because otherwise everybody's going to be sacrificed. Okay, everybody is expendable, and so but this is what we the people must remember: if our leaders are expendable, so do the people. And so the parade of the hanging. So and this works two way, okay? Because to get out of to not get to the guillotine situation, you gotta tend to the yin and yang balance as much as you can, okay? From within whichever position you are. So that means this not. And I know that about extortion, about anything, it's just kind of like whichever position you are, tend to this yin and yang balance and tend to curation of this in whichever position you are in, however you are. Because that's kind of like, that's the only way out of the guillotine. That's the only way out of the 22 catch. If you are the we the people part, remember that is the same as the leaders. Okay? The question is going to be, do you support the royalty? Those were the years. Okay, are you in favor of the royalty? Are you supporting of the royalty? Are you supporting of monarchy? Are you a monarchy person? And then it's the same. Okay, so tending to the yin and yang balance is also important for we the people, because it's way more challenging to create division and conquer within a tribe that is yin yang harmonized, where the tribe in itself doesn't ritual sacrifice, doesn't kill babies, doesn't rape women, doesn't rape men, doesn't have incest. Okay, it's a big enough a tribe and doesn't have incest, or it finds a couple of tribes that don't have incest, and it's way more challenging because the elements of the soil, the fertility of the soil, the abundance that you have, people crave it, but they can't quite easily touch that, because you have this inner alchemy, okay, that we are all working on. And I know for those of you who are tending to this, I know that the past years have not been easy. Past week has been quite tremendously challenging, and we all need to tend to that, okay? And this alchemy is really important. It's constant, but you can't even if you're not Donald Trump or Mark Rutte or Geert Wilders or whatnot, or Jag or Musk, okay, or Beyonce and Jay-Z, okay. So even if you're none of these people, you still need to tend to that, because that's the antidote. When people say love, and you know what I liked about, there was this Mormon cult survivor, okay, Teal Swan. And you know what I liked about Teal Swan? She said outright, she said, meet your needs. And she said, everybody tells you to love yourself, but nobody freaking tells you how. And if you're a cult survivor, then you had these infiltrations, basically satanic ritual abuse survivor, okay, that's what's up. So people blamed her in plagiarism a lot and so on, and that was true. So there was plagiarism and siphoning energy. She just tries to cope within herself around that, or being a cult leader herself. That all these things can be caveats of trying to survive a cult, okay? But what I liked about her saying back in the day is it's like, everybody tells you to love yourself. Nobody freaking tells you how. Well, this is the yin-yang balance of things that you can begin to learn about the yin and yang and begin to learn how to balance for the elements, whether, air, fire, water, soil, and you need to have a good balance. Okay, when you have a good balance, very tough to beat. For example, I had a good, in astrology, I had a composite, and I think also synastry with Pedar de Vries, that is very balanced with the elements. And I'm not saying that's an easy thing, because there I went from, oh my God, he's tending to all these horrible things, and let's listen to him, and maybe then I will be able to speak Dutch, to, okay, that was... So who is he a clone of? What does that mean about what the Nikes? Okay, so what's that symbolism that's not Thema Mundi like Caitlin meant it? Or what's going on? Okay, and all of that. Wow, channeling, and that was very challenging. At the same time, that had such balance that the alchemy was happening. And so until I kind of learned that, hey, I would need to do that alchemy for myself, I guess, not to create over dependence on something external. And this is something we're all going to have to do regardless of who we are. And yes, some people can help for this balance, okay? But we also need to learn how to do that with nature, and bring in with the elements that we need into our lives. Okay, so we are replenished and tending to ourselves, and there are intense efforts to interfere with this balance, but wherever that is coming from, whichever being will have to tend to the yin-yang balance, or it will perish. There is no two-way out. Okay, we die when that balance is going off, or alternatively where it's our time to go. Okay, but every being will have to tend to that. Every being will have to tend to that, whether you are a clone, or you are a rock, or you are a tree, or you're an animal, or you're a reptile, or you're an alien. That's the alchemy in this world. Okay, if you want to preserve your own life, you and they learn magic. So yes, the fumbling with magic, and even though it can begin in an Ariamanic way, and we're coming from the Luciferian, okay, the Satanic, the Luciferian, the Rowan Aries, moving towards a more Ariamanic time. So I know that the Rosicrucian Rudolf Steiner was also a clone of something, and yet it's interesting to hear that the Ariamanic idea of telepathy, communication, and so on, and fumbling with the elements. So yes, that imitation sometimes is a way of creation. It's like, hey, there's those elements, and we balance them. Now, if you set the intention not to invert, not to destruct, but to curate, okay, for the moon, to curate for the sun, then we can begin to tend to restore the creative energy within living forms. If you're thinking that this is a little bit of kind of like a Frankenstein and put in life, okay, the Deus Ex Machina, or putting life into the machine, then maybe that is, okay, maybe that is. And at the same time, the intention here is important, because the intention is for that creative energy, okay, for what the craving is, what is missing is that creative energy, and that can feel very void and frustrating and lifeless, and it feels like you need another to be life full. But that is because you went through intense torture whether you're a person or a leader person, you're a leader anyway, and you're a person anyway. So even if it's inbreeding, it is inbreeding. So it's breeding also with humans. Okay, clones or not, it's also with humans. And so maintaining of this balance and tending to this balance to the best of your ability, that is the thing that restores well-being. And it's not about winning or losing. When Jupiter just ingressed to Gemini, and it was co-present there with Mars in the beginning, I said what I said, okay? It's not about winning and losing. It's not about winning and losing. Now Mars in Leo, it can feel such a fixed sign visibility. That can feel such a, it's opposing Pluto. It's giving kind of like the king is naked. But it's not about winning and losing. It's about balancing that with a sense of connection. For those of you who have Aries Venus, okay, or Mars ruled Venus, that can be even more challenging because you feel the war-like situation when it comes to love, and love can feel like a game of wins and losses, but a sense of connection is important, and for that, seeing that how can you reach it, maybe through the moon, maybe through the sun, okay, but it's not about winning and losing. It's not about winning the fight, losing the fight, because that is playing out to the division, okay. It is about the alchemy and the balance of the elements. It is okay to protect your energy. Okay, it's okay to protect your energy, even lethally so. It's a part of nature. Okay, nature. If somebody comes to harm you or sexually assault you, it's okay to kill them. Okay, because sexual assault here uses to take a life force out of you. And this is why if somebody threatens your life force or try to send you ailment, and that's if you have seen it as winning and losses. Because somebody tries to send you ailment, and again, I don't. Okay, here's the deal. What's important to understand, I'm going to tell it like it is. Okay, I have a friend. I don't have a friend because we blocked each other. I blocked her, but I have had a person that she was tending to psychiatry, and she was working at the pizza and tending to, like, I think she had a litigation, so it was probably very impressive. And she used to have a publicity office in Switzerland. She was married, and her marriage went bad, and everybody betrayed her. She went through the horror, of course, in 2019. Then she came back from the dead, and she came back from the dead all alone. And she's working, and she's running this, crusade against psychiatry, and that's lovely. But she doesn't like everyone that betrayed her, which of course were also astrologers and shamans and healers and energy readers and psychologists and psychiatrists. She just see it as one and the same. And from cult perspective, if she was surrounded with the cult, I totally understand why. But for me, astrology was the way out of that. Okay. And she kept bugging me about this, until I was like, hey, what's happening at the pizza? It's a money laundering business for drug cartel. And if you don't have, kind of like, if you're not surrounded with, if you're targeted, you're targeted. And now I know to say it even more. If you're targeted, like if you're one of the people that wanna, they want for their mind control stuff, like they want to do something with your bloodline. Okay, they're like, hey, you got talents, you got things we could do with you, but it's like, okay, fine, but that's not the way. Okay, torture people and mind control them so that they wouldn't remember what they did is not the way. So and it's not intelligence, not protecting any safety of any people, including the hermaphrodites. Okay, so you're gonna be sacrificed too. So that is a thing that she didn't get, so much so that I had to block her. But that was also threatening my life in the sense that was leaving me without ability of viable income, nor thinking about how do I get the resources without let's say slavery, which is what they call work, which is all espionage. And she just wouldn't hear me out until I blocked her. But if everybody believed what she believed, and I would be disincluded from society, I would have to throw the apple. Okay, I would have to do the everything. And that's a different thing when, and she's setting herself up to be sick because she works so hard. And if she will be sick, it's very likely she won't be able to get up. If she will be wounded, she won't be able to get up. And then she won't be able to swim. That's what happened to me in academia. I was swimming. Then I met a person who was hermaphrodite. Okay, let's just put it that way. He was hermaphrodite. And I couldn't swim when I left there, and I couldn't be in the water. I could walk my feet in the water, and I felt like a little Jesus. But I couldn't swim for very long time. Okay, and every time I went to healing or therapy or whatnot, his energy was still in my body. So that was very challenging for both sides. Okay, and so that is, and nobody knows what's energy. And if they do, they think it's kind of like a twin flame journal. It's like, that's not a twin flame. That's the mind control stuff. Like, they are MK Ultra, and they they're used for a certain mission. So that is something that you can't explain a woman. Like, you could explain these people, but if you like, did you leave a viable source of living, okay, to the person? And I even told her, okay, we are going towards a place where you don't work, you work. It's a different type of work. You work your soil, or you build a house, or you do something. And she's like, you're taking me back to centuries ago. So I'm like, no, darling, I'm taking you back to the future. The name of my thesis. But in medicine and spirit of matter, by the way, is philosophy of medicine and spirit of matter. So that is before COVID. So that was my thesis proposal, preparing me for what's going on right now, which is whoa. The woeness of woe, because very likely if Aries is conjuncting my partnership placements and housing placements, and I'm scheduled to work with hermaphrodites, very simply put, then I have to remind everybody that, hey, you gotta maintain this dynamic balance. And I know my psychologist hated it and psychically attacked me for it, and this and that and so on and so forth. It's kind of like, hey, that's very cute. All these inversions are very cute. They're not really doing anything. We still have to maintain that. Like, if I think to go out, it's like either I die, okay, fine, but it's like, let's talk about that with dignity, okay? Or what this is just a ritual abuse. And I went to satanic ritual abuse after with that. And even when I speak with Trudy Verstegen, okay, so I speak with Trudy Verstegen, and suddenly I see a comment that is like, it's very obvious, this is Ido Nevoinita Mariron. It's like, yeah, I see that. Like, again, you're trying to mirror something, but it's not. It's not a win or loss. You gotta tend to this balance. I know it's more difficult to say than done, or set intention. It's kind of like, but hey, you also have personalities that taught this, okay, taught about Uranus and setting intention, and all these things. And these are true teachings, except that you gotta invert the inversions, okay, within yourself. You gotta do it for yourself, because otherwise you're gonna end up on the guillotine. Whether I'm alive or dead, whether I'm sacrificed or not a sacrifice, whatever will be with me is not the point. You're not winning over me. It's like, the question is if you are winning over the cult or not. Okay, and it's not about me winning over the cult, because it means the internal alchemy of me and myself, myself and I. Okay, and it's not because I'm selfish or self-centered. It's because that's what I can tend to. Okay, and if I clean my teeth and I need to say names, so I say names. That's it. That's a part of the alchemy. That's the genuine medicine, rather than the inverted one. And whatever for you guys, okay, that can be different. They can be different. But the thing is that if you cooperate with those mind control stuff, okay, you can set intention. I can bless you with getting out of satanic abuse, okay, so not have to perpetuate it and not have to go through that. And I bless myself with the same thing. But of course, if I'm sexually assaulted, I'm gonna put you to the guillotine, okay, whether in magic or in reality, right? So that is something to remember. And curses won't help. Okay, let's just put it that way. You're trying to curse me won't help, because I already set my intention quite well. Okay, even if I say, one thing, it's like, hey, if my life is in threat, then of course you're dead. If not, then of course I bless you, okay, with that inner alchemy, where a free man need not oppress another, a free woman need not oppress another, a free hermaphrodite need not oppress another. And that's the change for the Masons, because if the Masons wants to hold it through this Pluto's in Aquarius, where Sedna is trining Pluto, where Aries is about to ingress into Taurus. In Taurus, you can't win over. It's not a win or loss. It's not either a win or I lose or I this or I that. Austin had a very beautiful story for the Jupiter Mars in Aries, and that was like, when you overdose on that, you tend to see everything as a win or as a game where you win or lose. But relationships are not like that. So that can be wonderful if you're playing sports. But I dare say, like, if that gets you to planning an image of IDF soldiers sitting in Gaza with women red dresses, perhaps you need to tone, like, get a moon in Taurus, get a moon in Taurus, do something else with your life, tone it down. Okay, tone it down. And the reason why I mentioned Austin a lot, because Austin has his ascendant in Jupiter square in my Pluto. It's shit fuck difficult. And I have his moon square in my moon square in his Pluto, because the shit fuck difficult. Okay, but the awareness, just the awareness, okay, just the awareness that I bring my 22 Mars to his 5th house, and I'm like, hey, Deb, I'm taking me and my 22 Mars away from you, okay. But just the awareness and the fact that the person is tending to that and understanding that's the inner alchemy. It's not going to be anybody being sacrificed, and it's not a game of winning and losing, allows to maintain a certain balance, okay, that allows to maintain well-being. But whenever you go off that balance and you go towards human sacrifice, or you go towards ritual, or towards cursing somebody, or going and again, I don't talk about like self-defense in the sense somebody sends something to you. It's like, hey, if you're sexually assaulting someone, of course you're encountering that magic. Of course, especially if that somebody has a 22 Mars in Scorpio, hey, okay. But if that's kind of like, just you being you, don't go to the place where you sexually harass somebody. Don't try to justify that. Don't try to justify. And I know that a lot of you have been seeing horrors upon horrors upon horrors in your lives. So proportions is kind of like, I know satanic ritual with some people been sleeping with dead bodies as children, okay, and way worse things. And I know that when you go to healing, okay, when you go to therapy, I know, because Itamar Yaron was the psychologist I went to therapy from at Ido Nevo, okay? so I know that, okay? I freaking know that. Before that, I went to EMDR, and EMDR is a part of Scientology, okay, which is another cult that is also this cult. So that's the drill, that's the drama. And so that's why I say, somebody's really like setting themselves up to be sick because they work too hard, because they this, because they that. that's okay. Okay, if someone's like, risk your life to tend to that, so that they can get their own rest and be informed. Okay, so that is, for example, for me, it was very important for me to get out of any notion of psychiatry that is not housing force independent of ability to work for indefinite time, with ability to travel and so on, and believe the patient, okay, that is set in the stage for what we're having right now, because otherwise I wouldn't believe that Itamar Iron is satanic ritual abuse, and I would think that I'm imagining when he tries to show me things that basically tell of what abuse. Unfortunately, I've seen some of that. And then there would be another personality. So when you go to a psychologist and your psychologist is dead, and your psychologist is their child assassin is activated on you, creating a child assassin within you. And then there's a personality that said, I cannot forget the trauma. And that's your psychologist. Okay? So laughs aside, that is MK Ultra. That is how MK Ultra looks like. If you go around Israel and you go around the houses, you see MK Ultra South, and the assaults and the rapes and the tortures that also are done through mind control, also done from afar. They are done to get people to dissociate, so that they are more susceptible to mind control, so that they are more susceptible to enslaving of humanity. That is what this thing is. The antidote is the yin-yang balance. Okay, that's where my psychologist went nuggets, because he was like, hey, that is sexist, that is this, that is that. I was like, no, there's not. It's yin and yang. The sky does not punish the land does not punish the sky. Okay, so when you get that, then you get what the antidote to the inversion of the cults is, what is and isn't, okay, something that you can work with, and what is and isn't, okay, benefic. So it's very difficult to like, from where I am right now, because I've been dealing with that so freaking intensely, with Aries so close to my... Aries basically is in my second house natally, because Aries is in Aries, but now with Mercury, it's learning a skill, okay? It's learning a skill of alchemy to antidote the effects of the hermaphrodite cults on my life. And that's been, whether it's that Chris Shred guy in 2007, that I was like, I was thinking I'm psychotic, but I'm like, hey, I'm seeing all kinds of weird symbolism, like the K, which is literally Aries, and the eye, supposedly the all-seeing eye, and it's like something happens. It's like we blended, and then I have to separate things, and then when I separate things, I see torture. I was like, yeah, it was fucking trying to initiate me into a whatever cult without asking me. And I saw things to do with cult, and then as I separated, the habit is that they torture people before they leave. Okay, so people are feeling abandoned when they are taking some space, and stifled when with the other. And then I learned from veterans. Okay, veterans, first of all, it was practiced on veterans as well, on the army as well. And it was true, people who had PTSD from the army, that I learned what works, okay? And later I was connected with women who had PTSD, CPTSD, basically from emotional abuse and psychological abuse and sexual abuse. And those things were working for them as well. Okay, so to be active about, changing that, believing your own testimony, you're not imagining, as well as knowing that you're not to blame for what happened to you. You're still loved, and you're entitled to live. By the way, the worst things that people like this cult will make you say is because somebody's not deserving to love or something like that. And I had that happen to me. Okay, if somebody rapes you, say you're not, and they tell you, okay, don't waste your love on somebody. As I said, you're not deserving of love because you raped me. Okay, and this is exactly what this mind control will do. Okay, it tries to break the soul down, and you say, oh, this person is trying to break me down. No, this person is not trying to break you down. This person is broken down, and you are secondary trauma. And then that like there is a system that tries to create this chaos for all of you, and that person has his moods are personalities. Okay, and that's the thing. So then I would go to rehabilitation in academia. Okay, and to retreat from that, I learn astrology. So now, and I have Rahu in the fourth house with the ruler, with Chiron co-present, with the ruler in the second house, and the ruler of the ruler in the ninth, ruling over Saturn, satanic ritual abuse in Scorpio. Okay, and the Pluto, which is the cult. Nothing to it. Okay. So if even when I listen to Feynman, I really love Feynman. He said it's cult like sciences, and I'm like, dang. Now that we get to the Pluto Aquarius, he's on the money. So that is something to contend with, and I'm like, okay, well, there's this Ubermensch project, and those will be like my partners or people with associated with my housing, with the land, whichever land I'm on, because that's a fourth house, and that has to do something with my ancestry. So let's learn what I need to learn, but also remembering that the Ubermensch project, when it comes to Aries, so it was exploring and inverting identities, bloodlines, blood itself, DNA, and all that thing, and then it's going to go to Venus. So now we are worrying about the yin depletion or trying to cancel out women. When it's going to go to Venus, we're going to be worrying about a bunch of other stuff. Yes, and the soil as well. So the appearance of the soil and stuff like that. Now it always operates on a polarity. So if it's in Aries, then it is in the Aries Libra axis. So we already get the feel of what the Venus would be like. And it is all the horrors that we say that it is. And yet the antidote of inversion is basically to know that the yin-yang balance need to be preserved. It happens anyway, but you gotta antidote the dumbfuckery, okay? And the dumbfuckery is not Aries. Aries has just been not included. And through the struggle of Aries, we learn more about our own humanity. Just as an example, the conversation about hermaphrodites. So basically it's another chromosome, okay? And that is the XXY, I think. Yes, the XXY. And they want to eliminate chromosome Y. Y is the women, right? Yes? I don't remember the DNA classes from the junior high. So they want to eliminate the women. So they would create like people with breasts and penis and breasts and or kind of like a pear shape. Okay, very interesting things and creations. And also they would clone people, and they would kind of like to control over the fertility. Really challenging stuff, okay? But the discussion, because Netherlands is so fed up with that, the discussion is like the clones, the emoji clown is standing for clone as well. And people are just fed up with that, and they take it on the people. And then because these clone people are going through a series of intense torture, they have to perpetuate torture, and their role is to perpetuate torture in humanity, then you understand they don't get a lot of love. Okay. And so by the people who see that, and the people who don't see that, it's just kind of like, now they grew less and less faith in politics or in anything in general. But the thing is that the emotional parts are real, and it's human beings that went through intense torture. And yet, when you have to defend yourself when somebody comes to siphon your energy or to torture you or to curse you, you're like, no, fuck it, you're dead. Okay? You do that, you're dead. Fuck that. So that is there's something that just the people that have now placements in the last phase of Aries, they're dealing with that. Okay, so that Ito guy has a Venus in that last phase of Aries. For Itamar, I don't know. Maybe even Sun. Okay, maybe I don't know. Maybe Sun 22 was it? I don't know. But the thing is that that's genuinely challenging. That's genuinely challenging. And the feeling of being not included is very real. But if you're torturing people, everyone around, that's understandable. You're not included. And yet the antidote is that a yin-yang balance. It's not a win and loss. And the more yin is depleted, one would tend to see it as kind of like accentuate on that Mars and see that that's a win and loss, or trying to send things, because I talk about holistic medicine, try to send things about the health or to get me sick. And I'm like, because, and I understand it because I'm not so decipherable for people who are on the inverted side of things. And yet, this is Andromeda, okay? This is kind of like, yeah, of course, if you hurt me in any which way, you're dead. Okay, if you risk my life, you risk my health and well-being. And I'm not talking about, a person can have the flu. Okay, that's not the thing. I had a toenail fungi, for example, okay? I attended to my toenail fungus, so they removed Gaza. And then I had the Just Do It finger, a little bit of toenail fungi. And the Just Do It finger was Nike. The Nike scandal. So I'm learning. So I'm as I'm tending to that, I'm removing basically my own fungal, which is stagnation in my path, which may have been placed by a curse or not. And that's all over the Pluto that's in Saturn. Okay, so I'm just curating the toenail fungi, and I'm moving things around, moving energy around, and then satanic ritual abuse. So this is holistic medicine. Okay, it's very difficult for somebody that is kind of like outside of that algorithm to understand what it is. There's attempt to kind of imitate that. It's kind of like a fake it till you make it, but when you do the inversion of that, or you constantly think of it as a win and loss, so try to win over a person, okay, then y'all gonna get sacrificed. Okay, you're gonna get exposed, you're gonna get sacrificed, or try to avenge. You're playing out to the chessboard. Okay, what's the chessboard? The chessboard for the Masons, the chessboard is basically that both the white and the black, okay, are removed. Okay, this is for all of these people with lineages that are, okay, it's kind of like the inverted pyramid, or the anybody, okay, anybody is kind of like have ancestry with, yes, thinking that, oh, what was it is what will be, and how should I say that, now that those will be enslaved and now those will be enslaved. No, the chessboard is very simple. The white and the black are removed. So say, who is benefiting from that? No one. Not a single living form, not a single deity, no one. Okay? No one benefits from that. That's the point. Okay? So when you see it as win or loss, like, it's okay to defend ourselves, but when we see it as win or loss, we try to send out something to destroy someone, okay? No one wins. The only win, it's like, okay, there's one way to say the only way of avoiding war, of winning a war, is to avoid it. Or the best way for it was JFK. But also, okay, the only end of a war is a win-win. If you think about the Second World War and you say, oh, because the First World War ended like this with Germany because da 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 da. No, they just wanted to perpetuate an endless war. And the Second World War, yes, they conquered entire Germany and changed that, but the Nazis were allies of, okay, whatever more internal American forces that were there. Okay? So this is the design to perpetuate endless war. And then you get, Rutte having the question of like, will we replace Rutte with AI? Okay? That's the thing. So when we tend to the yin and yang balance, you might be targeted, but hey, you're already targeted. Especially if you're coming for me, you're already targeted. You're already infiltrated in a way that because you went through something you're not to blame for, you're more susceptible to this mind control thingy. And then one of your personas is programmer. Okay, so that's the thing. But this inner alchemy, the intention with this inner alchemy is to bring things into a dynamic balance. Is not the inversion of balance. Okay, and to recreate that. Even if you're cloned, even if it is, even if that, you're still a living being. And I don't buy into that you are like a void, soulless person, and so on. I don't buy into that in the sense that I know that it can be the feeling, but essentially that's not going to liberate you either from reincarnation cycle, okay? And secondly, that's not going to be a win. You understand? We only win over our own selves. Okay? Now, of course, if somebody come at you, then you gotta kill them. You gotta kill them. And I mean, if somebody, let's say, assaults you, threaten your life, and so on and so forth, if somebody just exists and you're bothered with their existing, and the reason you're running into that behavior is because, okay, of whatever infiltration whatever you said to that person, or whatever you did to that person, or whatever life in danger that you put that person in, then that is where that is where you're getting into that situation we don't actually have to be getting into. Okay, don't actually have to be getting into. And people learning alchemy, so that's what I'm about to say. Like, of course, if you're gonna try to sexually assault me in my sleep, you're dead. Of course, I'm gonna say, okay, this person so and so and so that did that, and whichever energy that did that is dead. Okay, but then I'm gonna put my intent. I'm gonna wake up in the morning. I'm gonna put my intention on for this. Whatever sent this attack is dead. So if that wasn't you, if that was infiltration of your mind control of you, you're not gonna die. It's not going to endanger you. Okay, I'm gonna bless you with turning to this inner alchemy, so you can rebalance it and find compatible connections that are life full for you. And I'm going to bless myself with the same thing, on and on and on. Okay, so whatever tried to infiltrate and create division and create conflict and create this and create that, yeah, of course, if I'm threatened, I'm gonna expose that. Okay, speech, sex chakra, throat chakra. If somebody sexually assaults you, you got to speak up. And of course, okay, the belief. And if somebody silences you, then the voices unheard become A-bombs. So that is a really important thing. And then from that point of view is indeed to remember, okay, It's not about assaulting the person back. It's not about trying to infiltrate their dreams. It's not about trying to send ailment to them. It's not about shape shifting into another person trying to do that. Like, it is none of that. It is none of that. And it's not about trying to siphon their energy to get of what they have. And it's like, that shit could get you killed. Doing that shit could get you killed. If you're having any sexual, astral, or not encounter with anybody, then you gotta set the tone. There's gotta be willing consent. There's gotta be something that you both are getting not just gratification from, but that the create, like, their energy will be left with them, your energy will be left with you. You're not siphoning their energy. Restoring of the creative energy, and that's done with natural elements. Nature is supportive of you, even if you were born into went through a really harsh stuff. And that type of activity of siphoning, if you like, let's say you try to get in my second house, try to get my house, try to get my this, try to get my that, what essentially is gonna happen is you're gonna hurt your own second house. Okay, you're gonna hurt yourself. Okay, or let's say you try to get my life path, because I know that I have a life path of changing the way we build, changing the Masons. Okay, and you try to control for that, and you try to this, and you try to that. It's like, no, because essentially it's like, essentially, how should I say it? First of all, like, study the chart that you're thinking you want to get into. Like, look at the lots, look at the dark stuff, look at the challenging stuff. You don't necessarily want to be in my position. Okay, I remember when I was looking into the chart of Geert Wilders, and that was before the solar eclipse in April, and I got it, I got it from Israel. I was like, hey, that person's gonna rise, and I look at the chart, immediately I get the gut feeling that person's gonna rise, and so I begin to see what's who is this person, and you learn that the guy is living in 24/7 jail. He sees his wife every couple of days, surrounded by police that I know from Peter R. Fries. Okay? And he has to thank the police all the time. And he's supporting Israel, and the police in the Netherlands, they hate Israel's guts. Okay? And then he gets threatened every day by the Satanic Muslim Brotherhood. Thanks to the Verstigen, okay, Satanic Muslim Brotherhood. Now, anybody at any moment could expose him for doing what not that he had to do, whichever, because of the cult. So thanks to the Verstigen that give Lars testimony that he said Lars was satanically ritually abused. But he's by Wilders, and he says, and I believe him, and he says, well, these people were abused as well. It's kind of like the way I realize it's kind of like a Disney camp with shockers and like people rape each other, but they're children. So, and more horrid things, and so, and then some colleague of him, that the T guy, and he was born on 6th May, which is horrible because I'm born on 6th May, different year. And that T guy says that they need to assassinate Wilders in every meaning necessary, or something like that. And then then he got to wake up the next day and have a debate with that guy that publicly said to assassinate him. And the lawyer office that he has, the Justitie, the lawyer office that he can turn to threaten that guy, has its scales upside down, okay? So what I gotta tell you, you would see the person, you say, hey, that person is rising, and he has a patent office, and so on and so on. So you might say, oh, I want to get what they got. I want to get it. Just like, okay, good luck. Okay, good luck with that. Good luck with that life. Good luck with that lifestyle. Okay. When a person tells you, I wouldn't wish on my enemies what I'm going through, they speak the truth. You looking into my chart, you want to be doing all this alchemy all day long? Because it's all day long. It's all day long. And if people ask me, what do you do for a living? I don't have an answer, but I tell them astrology. So you're a Mason. No, I'm trying to change the fact that the Masons sacrifice children and deplete yin and clone people. And how do you do that? I move energy around. Who pays you for that? Right now, the compound interest of my taxes when I was working with cloning children and panic ritual abuse. How are you going to get out of the situation? The fuck do I know? Okay, so yeah, I maybe you look at my life and you think, oh, that person doesn't have to go to a regular job, doesn't have to this, doesn't have to that. Okay, I deal with stuff that people that just go to work at the pizza. I'm not talking about that woman, because I wouldn't replace myself with her either, and she definitely would not replace herself with me. Okay. But I'm thinking about, the 7-Eleven cashier is going to be replaced by robots, but so is head of NATO, unless we tend to that. Okay, and I understand that we all have a chart to cope with. We all have a life story to cope with. And a lot of people say, oh, I would be replacing with you with ease and so on and so forth. Okay, like if you can keep up with this alchemy thinking, you can, you don't have to replace with me or to get what I got, but you actually need to do that for yourself. In whichever chart you had. I can tell before I turned 40, before I turned 36, I was actually giving readings to people, and I have the mystic rectangle in my natal chart. I have 2 mystic rectangles in my natal chart. And then I was giving readings to people that had a magic square, which is I saw this like, that's eternal alchemy. And then I turned 36 and I look at my Navamsha, and that's that magic square. Okay. So, I also want to point out that you want to look at composites, and if composite's not working well for you, or has grown its composite, which happens, then you might want to look at triads. Okay, I have a wonderful kite shape with certain triad that I'm not going to name here. I'm just learning the energy, and I got my ex-psychologist all over the place trying to curse me, and I'm like, what the fuck is that? No, back to sender. Because that kite shape, I'm still learning that, but is very protective, and it's very harmonious. Whereas, but if you take a look at each duo, it's quite challenging synastry and a quite annoying composite. But if we take a look at the triad, it's kind of like, oh, that shit works together. Okay, so that's what I do for a living, and I need that in order to combat like freaking sexual assaults. That is not, it is happening in a realm that you can't even talk about to people. So I totally believe you that your life sucks. But if you manage, if you want for what I have, then I can try to talk about the alchemy. I can have maybe teachings or something that you can practice for yourself, or maybe you can tend to that and practice for yourself or whatnot. Because that is way more intelligent than, I even had an energy of a woman. She's a young woman. She's just gone through a Saturn return, not even maturation, I think. So haven't even grown to her Navamsha. And that person has a very harsh Pluto, the year of the 98 or the 90 this, 90 that. They have a Pluto, I think Pluto opposite Saturn in their own natal chart, or Saturn, oh no, her Saturn opposite my Pluto. They have a Pluto square Saturn, okay, the internal Corban out kind of thingy. And that's a very challenging aspect. Okay, the structures in your life are collapsing, and I saw that MK Ultra kind of got to her, and I won't go into too many details, but that is incredibly challenging. We are at the time that the entire satanic church is under scrutiny, and this time it's real. Okay, it's not a satanic panic. It's the war of the lodges. So that is quite concerning. And that woman's been trying to sacrifice me, and I'm like, darling, if you want to have women, you're talking about women's rights, okay? You're talking about the need to be in a place where your rights are respected. You've had heritage that you saw what it's like, but it's not like that. So you're smarter than beyond that. And it's like, hey, if you want to have, a world where women are there, that you don't sacrifice the women around you, because what's going to happen is, like, the men around you right now, maybe they're very attractive and lovely, you may have good things with them, but if, like, then you're up, if you're gonna sacrifice me, you're up next, and then they're gonna sacrifice each other, and that is the type of stuff you run into when you live in my life. Okay? And because I tend to the core of things, which is willing consent, yin and yang, then I tend to all the things that I tend to the antidote of antidotes of these inversions. So yes, it's a source of power, but it's in its constant internal alchemy, in the face of those things. And I tell you, that's you ask for somebody's life, watch what you wish for. And yet there are things, if Aries is now going through my Lord of the 7th and 4th, that's the drill. Okay, it's not about the old teachings can't go. The old teachings, I have to integrate the old teachings. Okay, if I'm a relational astrologer, so the old teachings can't go, because with the new teachings come in, and that's like, hey, hermaphrodite, not clone, and not clone. Let's put it this way: for the next 20 years or so, Aries is still with the vicinity of that Mercury. Okay, that's life for me. That's life for me. So either I'm gonna make the changes that I need to make with this Masonic thing, so that we abolish satanic ritual abuse, human sacrifice. We just get it more like the antidote to inversion, and we are in the prime time in terms of, like, Pluto going to Aquarius, to trying to set now, the thought that Aries is going to ingress into Taurus. Okay, if I think about Adolf Hitler born with Aries in Pisces, which is the religion, the motherland, the longing, okay, for something, having to operate within a Aries world, which is the eugenics, the bloodline segregation, the learning which type of reptilian another person is, all these things. Then he had to operate with his Pisces Aries which is a longing for a motherland and to be included within the motherland, within a world that operated on a level through which he was basically massively ritually abused and sacrificed. And everybody takes it out on Hitler, where he was just one of the, like, everyone was doing it. Okay? Everyone was doing it, and everyone was doing it to the Jews as well. And the particular thing that happened in Germany, in Nazi Germany, is what happening constantly with the hermaphrodite, with the secret societies. That's what we need to know. So when you get that, you get that, then you get that if you are an Aries in Aries, you're gonna have to operate within the world. So the next, right now we are in the Uranus Beta Persei. The next Uranus Beta Persei is gonna be within in 84 years. So a young generation is being born now with the Aries in the last phase of Aries. You guys are gonna have to be okay, especially like in 20 years, you're gonna be like in your 60s. You're gonna be the next Geert Wilders. You're gonna be the next Mark Rutte. You're gonna be the guys. Okay, you're gonna get the girls or the guys, the women, or the two gender, or whatnot. But the thing is that you're gonna have to operate within a world where Aries is in Taurus now. Okay, so this is when you understand what the antidote to the Venus-Mars, because in Taurus, it's going to get even more accentuated, because that is the Taurus-Scorpio axis. Think about Israel and Palestine as Taurus-Scorpio axis. Crimea and Russia as Taurus-Scorpio axis. Okay? This is... I don't know about Congo. Because nobody's covering Congo. Okay? The big shots... Trifon may have covered, I don't know, I need to check all his videos again. The big shots, like Trifon, they tend to both mundane astrology and sidereal astrology. If they don't cover that, then I don't know what the lines are. Like, I don't have all the astrology information. So... This is, and sidereally it works a bit differently, okay? So they would look at that would still be a different axis. But when Aries is in tropical Taurus, that one is going to be giantly problematic, okay? And Aries has just recently gone through the ingress to Aries sidereally, I believe. So sidereally, it's it's another story. But also the notion of perpetual war. It's just to calm you down. The notion of perpetual war and the endless war and the Mein Kampf. This is Aries in Aries. It's not Aries in Taurus. We might think that the Ubermensch is slow living when Aries is entering Taurus. I'm not joking. We think what kind of a DNA have a person is constantly, slow living. And then the other polarity is Scorpio, okay? Then, it's either we get to the will and consent or we get to the will and consent. Or you gotta get to the will and consent because the or else here is not cute, and you gotta, see Crimea, see 7th October, see Gaza. These people, when these people that did infanticide, that did not end up well. That did not age well. So, you gotta listen to the old teaching. You gotta understand that that those inversions play out on the balance, okay, the dynamic balance of the yin and yang. And it doesn't matter how much, it doesn't matter all the psychic attacks, all the this, all the that, you don't change the truth. You draw a fucking A-bomb on a place, that place become a fucking forest, and the species that were procreating without sexual polarity, which is what they try to do with the hermaphrodite cults, to control for fertility and population growth and forestation and so on, then you have a fucking forest. And what happens? All the extinct species come out. 70 years, you can't touch it. You can't touch this. And then what do they do? The species that were procreating without a sexual polarity begin to procreate with a sexual polarity. How did that A-bomb come to be? Well, a ton of Holocaust to a ton of children and people that manifest the end of suffering. Not weapon of mass destruction. So this is what's happening, and of course it is extreme. But that's the truth, and although it does move, okay, what can I say? That's the truth. The inversion on the truth, saying the sky punishes the land. Those who if you think that the sky is punishing the land, then you're gonna lose the mandate of the heaven. You can be a simple person, or whomever. You try to invert on that, or this, or that, or that, or that. Okay, if there's a point to what you say, then that would be adjusted. But at the end of the day, it's not about what my opinion is, where my beliefs are, what my this, what my that. Like there's this dynamic balance of things, of order and disorder and so on. And you can interfere in that in favor of humanity. And I know, because I came up with basically the patents upon you would build on the technology. You go back to Feynman, patents. Then you understand when you get the patterns around chaos and just what you do with that thing that regulates the heartbeat, you can do with the thing that regulates the earth, and you can avoid earthquakes. One patent. It's the intervals of chaos. I did not invent it. The intervals of chaos, okay, displayed on the mind. That would, if it was not the inversion, that would be regulating, okay, the waves of the brain for enhancing our functioning. That's not what they do with chips today. Okay, that's the thing I thought about like in 2015, and then my bestie said, "But there are going to be a lot of bugs," and I'm like, well, everything has bugs, but they used it in inversion. Okay, they didn't use it correctly. You put that to the soil deep enough in the ground, you get the regulation of earthquakes, and you don't have all that. You sweeten, you smoothen the earthquakes. Okay, you regulate that. That regulates the weather. Okay, there's not a patent, and in one exchange it for $1. But I would also not try to control the world with that. It's like, hey, do that. Just make sure I have a place to stay, and can travel, and I can enjoy the good life for the rest of my life, pretty much. I just said that you develop that pattern, you use it, not the inversion of it. Not the inversion of it, because I'm gonna tone you down, living or dead. I'm gonna tone you down. I'm gonna hook up with Feynman. I'm gonna tone you down. Talk about the cult-like sciences. Get the fluoride out of your teeth. I said what I said. Okay? But then when you abolish child ritual abuse and infanticide, and you make sure that when you have sex, there's freaking will and consent, even if you penetrate yourself, you gotta be aroused, you know? Not by hypnosis in the sense of by relaxed arousal. Okay? You regulated the damn weather. Build in the half moon in the dry soil. You brought in the water. Now you're holding the waters now that they forested the Sahara. Gotta do all that. But if you focus on the inversion of that, you're just depleting yourself. Everybody gets that. I go back to Jaguar Wright. So another shout out to Jaguar Wright, and she said she was speaking about the guy with an orange Nike. let's talk about that. Okay, let's not talk about that. Let's just check up the orange, check up your diverse agenda. This is what I said. But other than that, they were talking. She's talking about the difference between business people in white and business people in black. And she said the white business people, they help each other. They come to 150s. I don't know which one of them says 150 people in every conference. They help each other out. And black people, they just try to now, I'm not saying that that's necessarily true. I've seen astrologers, fellow astrologers in the black community, and the black excellence, and I see them giving up in each other, and I love seeing that. Okay. Then came the Palestine Muslim Brotherhood of Satan stuff that silenced Palestinian people and tore the entire community down. Okay, but it is what it is. Okay, just like I don't support the IDF is having a snuff film in Gaza with women dresses and all that satanic ritual. That's nothing to do with defending anybody's right on any land. Okay, then just like that, I'm gonna say it outright when I call it Muslim Brotherhood of Satan, the guy with the green Adidas, China master assassin, tantric assassin. Just before Chiron goes again into the 22nd degree. Not missing that. But what she said is something to keep in mind, because I remember when I was with my mom and we were traveling to Europe and traveling by boat, and then we wanted to go by ferry to take a ferry back to Israel. Then we were in Greece and it was November because she really wanted to be in Christmas in Europe. She wanted me to see Christmas in Europe. Okay, eventually I would go and see Christmas in Europe when COVID was 12 degrees and everybody was in a lockdown. Okay. Unfortunately, it was not a white Christmas because the white is a bit different in the Netherlands. So we come back and there are two sailing companies. And we go to one company and say, we don't have a ferry to Israel. It's too fucking risky. But let's check with our competitors. Okay, just sit in the building across, and they call that other companies and they book for the ticket for the ferry back to Israel, and then we sail to Israel in November. Not on the Queen Elizabeth. But that is memorable because we were both impressed that these sailing companies, they work in such ways like if I don't have this ferry, then maybe you have, and if you have a client, then maybe you can turn them to me, and that's great because that's how we do business. Actual business, not torturing people to extinction, calling it sex work, I'm sorry, and then that's not even espionage, okay? That's not business. Okay, I'm not going to even speak in human trafficking, not human trafficking, because Jack is right. Jack is right. He said, if you can't do anything about it, then what are you talking about? I'm killed. Or if you can't save me, what are you talking about? If you can't help me, if you don't have a way or a path for me, what are you talking about? Okay, so that's true. And at the same time, when we are working and supporting each other on a genuine wealth, not the sky that punishes the land, not rape and torture, not all this dumb fuckery, black or white, then we are the antidote to this black and white that is wiped off the planet. And it's and I know right now we had the eclipse in Libra, we had the eclipse in what was is what will be. We had that eclipse, but this is one stream of consciousness among a series of eclipses, and now we're heading to Rahu in Pisces. Okay? So all of these, what was is what will be, and the this and the that, and that's the way of the world. No, it's not. It's never been. It's an inversion of the way of the world. And even the middle phase of Libra, where everybody's talking about what was is what will be. No, darling, we have purged believing that to put somebody to sleep with anesthesia or drugs or something and then rape them is non-consensual sex. And I'm not talking about consensual non-consent. I'm not talking about the kink. That's non-consensual in France today, heading towards the next French Revolution. So that's not the way of the world. And it's not what was, what will be. Okay? It's not inverted, this upside down, downside up, inverted triangle, inverted this. Feynman was painting for me the inverted triangle for years now. When I was in academia, the entire thing, I began to write and I channeled this. When I wrote my thesis, I see the inverted triangle. I didn't understand why did this, like all he had in his mind is triangles. Why inverted triangles, okay? So that was that. So yes, Pluto in Capricorn, we definitely see that what was is what will be. Okay? Men on top, women on top, whites on top, blacks on top. But when it comes to Aquarius, there's no topping. Okay? Speaking as the 12th house Aquarius, that's my bedroom, folks. Okay? I said what I said. So we're going out of somebody topping somebody, and that's okay if that's your kink. Okay, people have 12th house Capricorn. It's fantastic. We're going from that one to Aquarius, which is kind of like, okay, if we three have better chemistry than each and any of us as a two, so let's go together. Okay, but you gotta have, that rapport. You gotta have that chemistry. Because it's the sign of the architect. Which structure is going to bring us the best results, or the more equity, or the more harmony as people, while maintaining our sovereignty and our ability to be ourselves? That's the issue. So when it comes to programming, okay, they're going to be the streams and going to try to make, MK Ultra an everyday thing. But if you're still thinking in the line of Capricorn, is like, oh, that was what happened to black people, now it's happening to white people. You don't know if you were white or black in last incarnation, if you're a man or woman in last incarnation. And the infiltration of the MK Ultra is going to give you false information. I go to great teaching of Ksenia Moore, astrologer Ksenia Moore, and Saturn opposition Venus. Okay, Saturn opposition Venus. So people used to think that person is having delay in their life because, I don't know, there was like something bad going on and so on. And she looked into that and she saw that usually were people that were in slavery or abused or not free women, if it's a woman, let's say. And they had to learn to value themselves and love themselves, what is the square, the opposition, so they're not demoted. Because one of the things that they would do is they would try to pinpoint where you're not beautiful, where you're not this, where you're not that. It's like, hey, a beautiful woman is a loved woman. Okay, so once you get that with a Saturn maturation or Saturn return, then you can begin. And if it's Pluto, so that can be in your 40s, or if it's Chiron's, your 50s, okay? That can be a beginning to have a more balanced life where you're not subjected to these toxic relations And you can be happily married or happily related in whichever way works for you. Okay, so your past life is not like you were this terrible person. It's like, no, you had abuse, you had endured abuse, and in this life it's like, no, we're gonna withhold relationships for you until you value yourself, because you're not doing that dumb fuckery again. I have Venus opposing Saturn. I said what I said. I also have a Venus opposing Pluto. Okay, so maybe in past life I was in such and such and such and such and such, where this life is kind of like hermaphrodite. Okay, we still gotta maintain, like, you're gonna get, you want to go extinct, or you want to go willing consent, or you want to go to someone else. You could go with someone else. You could either go with willing consent, or you're gonna go to someone else, okay, if you don't want me, or if I'm not, like, if we don't have a rapport, or you can go extinct. These are the options, okay? Because I've been there, and I went extinct, and I came back. Why did I come back? To change that. Why now? Because we go into the golden ages. Aries in Taurus. Aries in Taurus. Okay, we're heading towards the 25th Aries in Taurus, and then it's a couple of 100 years. This is true, it is a couple of 100 years. Okay, but that thing is happening right now, because we can't go with the same masonry and build with stone again for a millennia with slavery. Golden Ages is not slavery. Golden Ages is not rape. So Golden Ages is not child labor. Golden Ages is not artificial monogamy or artificial non-monogamy. Okay? That's not Golden Ages. So some people need to bring that change. I'm one of them. That's what I'm doing in life, because I ask myself, why? Rahu in the 4th house in Gemini, with the IC there, with Juno next to the IC in Sappho, mind you, and Chiron, that now Sedna will conjunct, and all that revolutionary stuff happening with, but the me having in the 10th house with Ketu, and then there is a Uranus there. But that Uranus is in Ketu is very close to Antares, and Rahu is very close to Aldebaran. And that's just the beginning of the thing, because the ruler of the 4th house is Mercury, is in Aries in the 2nd house. So that's the skill of innovation. As to what? Mars is in the 22nd degree retrograde of the 9th house. So religion, worldly something. Worldly what? Scorpio. Okay, nature. Okay, of houses and building and construction and motherland and ancestry and trade of what? Well, with Saturn ruling the 12th of the 11th of stocks and debts and structures to do with sexuality. Okay, with Pluto, like a cult or something. Yeah, so you are bring it in with the changes that need to change. We're going Golden Ages, right? And the people that have been the sexpionages in past lives from the hermaphrodites, okay, some of them are coming with, some of them are not going to the guillotine, because some of them been through that. They have already been enslaved, past life, this life, and some of them might not be going to the guillotine. Some of them might be going to usher in golden ages. And then there are the people that would tell you one thing and do another, okay? The two. And these people, some of them still, okay, they're still learning this alchemy. And they're not going to the guillotine, they're going to the golden ages. And even if some of them are going to guillotine, is mercy killing for them. Because enough with torture and enough with torturing, right? And then maybe they're gonna reincarnate in the golden ages, and they'll see like, why did I go through this? And like, to live in paradise. So they're not, it's not the end of their soul road either. It's just like, just like there is mercy killing, there's assisted suicide in Netherlands for a reason, in Brussels for a reason. And I'm speaking as a person that great portions of our lives, yes, there was consideration for that, a desire for that. But we are all here to bring in for this alchemy that's ushering us to no more inversions of, but to live. And the last millennia for the Masons has been one thing, and now the structures, some of them are falling very physically if they were consecrated with satanic abuse, and there's attempt to preserve that, but that's, the window of time is such that we are heading towards the age of Aquarius. We're heading not to the age of Pisces, where that would be the illusion of something, but the age of Aquarius, where we genuinely talk about architecture, and architecture, masonry, is about yin yang balance and elemental balance, and bringing in the fresh water and willing consent, and the sex is relaxed arousal, and the birthing is a joyous orgasmic process. And that seems absurd to the way that we exist, when we think about the way that we exist, but that's where we're heading. And we're all bringing that, each in their own journey. So we are shedding those inversions that came upon us in the ages where people thought, well, yes, women were always raped for money, and that's the way of the world. Men were always killed at war, and that's the way of the world. And that's not the way of the world. It's not how babies come to the world. Okay, mom. Oh well, I'm not going to get into that, but I will say it. Okay, Ronald Bernard, when he tried to kill himself, he was having NDE, near-death experience, and he was shown birthing, and how baby come to the world, and the love, and how that affects. And when I was hearing channeling of Nick Drake various years ago, also he was born to a mother that went through depression in her process, and that affects the thing, which is why willing consent is so important, which is why honoring, remembering the feminine, and the womb is so important. It doesn't negate that if you have a womb and you are a man, that you can have babies, okay, in my opinion. It doesn't negate respecting people. If a person was born clone of her mother, it doesn't negate anything. It's all the curation of that in whichever place a person is relative to that. and the understanding that you set intention to have that. And I can say, as a very Plutonian person, I learned very, very early on that if I like what a person has, I just practice it in myself. Now, when that something has to do with like relational issue, you can set intention to have access to that, and not buy into the MK Ultra, in the sense that, you know, me living a good life and thriving is not supposed to have relation to, I don't have to be liked by everyone to do that, okay? um or how should I say it? Yeah, those situations that change your either belief on yourself or a sense of self-value for the worse, that's abuse, whether it's towards yourself or towards another. And I know that this is a process, okay? But this is why, for these boundaries, they fiercely exist. They fiercely exist because it's like, yeah, you're gonna go to the guillotine. I'm not gonna, okay, but if that's the thing, so that's mercy killing relative to what would be in the cult, and that doesn't mean that's the end of your story. That might mean that you're gonna come here in the golden ages, or you're gonna come here in the 300 years and gonna be smarter. Because very likely in the past incarnation, I wasn't smarter. And it's not because I wasn't smarter. I did not have access to what I have access now. Okay? But in this incarnation, I'm in a different place. And that is a story of incarnations. But it's also the story of incarnation, or the notion of karma is not, oh, past life you were a victim, this life you're a perpetrator, past life you're this. That was for the Dark Ages. That was where the notion of karma was to control humanity. Okay? Another way to see this is like there is a trajectory. Your soul has a trajectory, and you're going towards, okay, a free person, need not oppress another. When you think about the places where you have a freedom, you feel like, I don't need to oppress anybody. I don't think, okay, I don't need to fight with everybody, or with anybody. Okay, I don't need that. Then that thing is where you have access to a free man is not oppress another. Like, you don't even feel that need. It's not even, you're not even thinking that it's like, hey, I need to make sure that person alive, that person this, that person that. It's like, okay, but basically with those people, that people try to enslave you. But a free person need not oppress another. The free person is not the person who enslaves everyone, that has supposedly more power, and then is replaced by AI. Okay, but whether you're the cashier or the astrologers as well, or whatnot. But to create that, we need to curate for the inversions, and we need to set boundaries to those who try to enslave us, whichever position we are. So tending into that is, to the best of our abilities, okay, that the yin yang balance. And then we move from, moving from fear and control and this and that to more loving place towards ourselves. And that's a journey. When I remember I went to a channeler, that she was reading for me, and she was reading for me. She said, well, you have something to do with sounds and colors, that you were in golden ages, you were like kind of like a forest fairy, okay? But you meant to reconnect people with the connection between their housing a situation and the life inside the houses. So I thought kind of like a feng shui, no darling, architecture. And she said, but because you're not like, because you're very likely not going to learn architecture like in academia or something, then your guides want you to get away from like helping, I was tending to people who were hurt by sex offenses and stuff like that, to get away from that a little bit and to kind of like go into, colors and stuff. So I learned aromatherapy and curation with colors, and then the million inversions when I try to do that, because what is architecture if not masonry? And what I came to bring is the golden ages. So that is why I am here. If you're listening to this, is very likely why you are here as well. And no, you're not meant to serve as a catalyzer for no, you can like you can set intention to usher in golden ages as well, because this is where the chessboard of the black and white book wiped out is no longer relevant. And it's not the chess, not checkers. It's just life. Not to win and lose, it's just to live. And this is so important. You can enjoy a sport game, but to live, to enjoy life. It's not even to choose life, it's to enjoy. The question of choosing life is not even a question for you, because you're too busy being alive. Okay. And all the inversions, I always said that in 2017 and 2018 and in 2019, and all the inversions of that, they don't hold water. Want to know what hold the water? If you be the half moon in the Sahara, during the half moon, that holds the water, and that becomes a forest. And that forest is the greatest wealth. Okay? Because you could build a house in that forest. You have food in that forest. You have life in that forest. You just gotta treat well the forest, treat well the people. Relax into, whatever like in that forest. And that's where the good stuff is. I know that there are a lot of, this is what they call the spiritual war, because right now the spiritual war, because that is a lot of things being purged out in humanity itself. So a lot of us, a lot of things are purged out in humanity itself, and that's what we are seeing. And it seems to us, you think about the story of the cave and people going out of the cave. Think about satanic ritual abuse. Some children are genuinely in the caves. People going out of the caves. If I turn to the snake goddess, Beta Per Se, when I have a full moon conjoining Uranus and Beta Per Se, and I turn to the snake goddess, and I ask to abolish satanic ritual abuse, the children, they sacrifice it to the snake goddess. I didn't know that. Okay? And I get help from the snake goddess to abolish satanic ritual abuse. Then I get the videos for like what goddesses, what rituals do they do there, and I'm like, couldn't you tell me that you're the goddess that they sacrificed these to? I was like, hey, we went through that. I mean, you 7th of October, you told them like, you grow fucking hibiscus. I didn't know they actually placed. Yeah, that's the wormwood thingy. That's also the Deneb algae, but also Beta Per Se. Okay, that's dumb. Like, yeah, I'm trying to get that. Try to get that off my snake head from 9 millennia. Maybe you can help me out. We don't need no child sacrifice for the snake goddess. She's good with hibiscus. She's good with snowflake obsidian if it's ethically yeah, she's good with some wormwood. She's good with some mint. Okay, when I did a Beta per se talisman, I wasn't just doing Beta per se shield protect I was like, hey, Beta per se transformed. Okay, think about the Medusa Gorgon recovering. So you think about the mints, you think about the herbs, you think about the joy of living restored. Of course, that is, that's the golden ages. And when we are now, some of us are getting skillful and not getting too excited over this MK Ultra thing here. People trying to send us here, send us there. Because if you're still here. Okay, whoever you are, you're still here. You're still alive. You're still shining. You're still expressing yourself. You're still doing things in the world, and even from within the projects. Okay, just to name a few. Okay, think about Jack Wright. She's within the industry and in the black industry, and now going, and shining and expressing herself, and having this cruelty-free artistry. Okay, so it's gonna be, think about Ronald Bernard. Okay, still going with new currency, with, kind of remind me of my motto of money grows on trees, because it does. And maybe that's, there might be shifts and changes, and the refining and reading of more and more of the things that are to do with the cult, and that's life, and it's a process. Okay, thinking about, Wilders spending, I don't know, like 20 years in that situation, for speaking about infanticide and genital mutilation and child brides and their relation to women in Islam. Okay, that's not fake. That's not fake. So we still get the message across, even if you're within that, we still get the message across. I think about even people that tortured me, okay? Still sending messages across. I just gotta, I defend myself by any means necessary from any type of torture in spirit and in matter, right? Or sexual assault in spirit and in matter. Yeah, of course you're gonna die. Okay, if you do that, you're dead. Okay? But when it comes to the appreciation of the essence of the person that was not, and I'm not saying corrupted, okay, it was not abused, tortured, it's like the essence of the person, that which they didn't manage to kill in you, okay? I'm not blind to that either. And I don't see that as gaslighting or manipulation. Sometimes it's being used as that, but it's not being used as that because the person is that, but because the nature of those inversion tactics are that. And then I'll defend myself by any means necessary from that. Okay, so that is something to, yes, to keep in mind. Going 2 hours now. And intention does go a long way, but also you can have your say. Okay, you have your say. And this is going to, and even if it was a situation that's, I don't know, you were a perpetrator in past life, and now in this life you are how should I say it, like kind of like growing from being a victim of that and so on. Yeah, you're not meant to recycle that. Okay, it's not you think about the gum, yes, that you chew. It's kind of like a chewing gum, and then it gets like paper. You take it out. You're not supposed to recycle, like you're not supposed to chew it on forever. Okay, so you're not supposed to recycle that. And also, because otherwise that other person is creating karma. Okay, and then what next time is again? No, we are Pluto and Saturn. We are changing for the karma, because we are changing for the habits that created the karma. If we're abolishing child rights, abolishing infanticide from the Inuit, and there's a woman, a Malawi woman leader, black leader, that did that. She abolished. When I did the algal beta per se, okay, and I saw the lizard, the two stories of the lizard. So one lizard was said to humanity to say, we're saving humanity, and then the other lizard, that lizard was slow, and then another lizard was quick up and said to humanity, you are doomed. You don't know what's coming. You don't know what's coming. What's coming is the golden ages. Now, what's also coming is the purging of everything that you didn't know that exists. I didn't know that the Elon Musk had 1 billion women with 1 billion children that may be clones, and that he's enslaved to some dumb fuckery secret society, and has to put his Tesla on no solar energy. I don't think that's like, I don't think, like, I didn't know that. Does it change the fact that he has great inventions, that he's building a freaking colony on Mars, or whatever he's heading to, okay? That he has good ideas that can also be used in benefit for humanity, and that maybe there's great parts in him that actually want that to be in benefit of humanity. No, it doesn't change that. You see pictures of Donald Trump with Epstein. I didn't know that. Okay, but when you understand that the entire thing is like a Disney club, that everybody tortures everybody, rapes everybody, then they have to keep on doing that, otherwise they can't. And then you say, oh, within that, Donald Trump is an eclipse child, which means that all the torture that they put him through, they still can't control for his destiny, which he has premonitions of. So yeah, I heard these testimony that she was tortured by Trump and Musk, and I believe her, because structurally, not just because I believe her, but because structurally there wasn't any other option. It's either he would be dead, he would do these things. And if he would be dead, that wouldn't necessarily solve the problem for all these things. The only one we saw that got out is Hans Medma. And Ronald Bernard was born outside the cult. Okay? Then he could go out, and he was a banker, so he wasn't signing with blood. So he could go out not dead. Hans Medma was born inside the cult, and he escaped with his wife and lost his Dutch nationality. It's the only what we have, other than the survivors of satanic ritual abuse, that were programmers, that were this, that were that. You can hear them in various podcasts, where there's Annika Lucas, or you can hear the Cage's testimonials. And I recommend to go directly to the testimonials, because of course there are going to be platforms that are capitalizing on that, or even, like I said, I listen to Jack Wright, and then I see kind of like maybe someone shape-shifted into her and said, we're gonna swallow, okay, threatening me. And I was like, okay, if like I can believe that she did that. I can believe that that's some fucking MK Ultra dumb shit. But I can also understand that the desire from that is that there will not be communication So people will not support each other, so that would be isolated, that would be isolated, that would be isolated, that would be isolated. Okay? And I say no, that we needed that communication, and we need to tend to things. So of course I defend myself from it by any means necessary from everyone, but but other than that, the connections are important, and and supporting each other is important. Okay, because I believe Jack, and I believe Bernard. Okay, and I might not agree that Trump is having a clean record, but I also understand context, just as I understood it by Rutte. Okay, and Wilders and Lars. There's context to these things. If we want to tend to change that, we need to understand that as well. So it's not about blue pill, red pill, because that's just keeping us in the chessboard. They say chess, not checkers, but the Masonic chessboard is the black and the white wiped out. Everyone is expendable. Okay, so this is where we need to, and I'm not saying unite, because we need to have tolerance for various perspectives, and respectful for each other's sovereignty. Yeah, said Ruth, what's up? Ruth is a survivor of these satanic cults and now sleeping in Brussels. Yeah, what? Okay. Germany will play its role in NATO. I cannot with you. So, yes, that's the world we're living in, but it's moving towards the golden ages. Okay, it's not moving towards it, and then what the in between is dark ages, and it's dark ages not because horrible things will happen, but because you see the horrible things that already do happen. The Me Too, for example, Jay-Z, not Jay-Z, but the conversation is important, because will and consent is not something you just toss out. Inuit society has highest suicide rates until today, because they originated in time where we didn't understand will and consent. So if a guest came to the tribe, so the man would give his woman to sleep, a part of the hostel, so food and so on, also sex. And if a man went out to hunting, another man would arrive to make sure a woman has her orgasm sexually satisfied. Okay? That was not sexist. But if nobody can take care of them, so you kill them. And if woman doesn't want to marry, you kill her. Now this is creating the highest suicide rates until today. Incestual relationships as well. Okay? So willing consent is not like that we came up with this and decided that willing consent is important. It's important because otherwise it's an inversion on life. And that's the thing. Okay? So, and I love Eliza's work. I keep mentioning Eliza because she's just so fantastic. And the notion that, hey, your willing consent matters. And sex espionage is inverted when we are compartmentalized, and then they torture you so that you can have sex without love and then forget what you said, okay, or stuff like that. But your willing consent matters, and she works to bring that to women. She's still returning to her body because of that. And I had what happened to me in 2007. Okay, without me, she was trying to, from afar, torture me so that I will be able to have sex without love. that would mean that I would be MK Ultra. We were both liking music. He was a serious musician. I was just, recording myself singing. But that was the thing. And I said, that's like to rape a lesbian woman to become straight. Okay? It's like it's changing something that you're not supposed to interfere in. And that's rape. And that was something that was more than he could contain. Literally said that. That was the emotional, that's the rational, the emotional purging of until you understand what happens. But thanks to veterans, I managed to slowly get out of it, and then I basically would lead in assisting women that went through rape, because there was no healing models. The best it was, maybe there was you're not to blame for what happened to you. Other than that, there were no healing models. And I had to contend with when I said soul rape, so people would wish to group rape on me by niggers. Okay, that's how they say it. Because I talked about what happened to me and I had not the words to say, but essentially that's essentially I was not wrong. And my healing and recovery contributed to people that went through physical rape, and then I had people who went through psychological, physical, astral, and they said, well, you know what they went through, what I went through was the worst part for them. Not that I'm putting things on the scale or trying to compete with anybody's trauma. But that was just a guy being a jerk, okay? To the other society, like, this is nothing. So, Me Too, what do you want to call it or whatever, which is basically MK Ultra exposure. That's not how it was. It was talk about sexual harassment, so we wouldn't talk about MK Ultra. So it did, but the thing is that it wasn't that Me Too was a time where many women were sexually harassed. No, it was just a time where we found out that we are all virgins when it comes to sex. And what we've been having is various gray shade zones of from people pleasing to downright raping ourselves to being raped, but not sex. Mic drop, I'll end with that.